Techmarines are elite warrior engineers for the Imperium. You can identify them from their gigantic robot backpack arms, turrets, and mounted machine guns. These savvy engineers are in charge of maintenance on ships, gear, and armor. And today, we're going to be painting one of these awesome guys to join my ever-growing Ultramarine army. If you enjoy painting and hobby videos about Warhammer or tabletop gaming, please subscribe. I'm currently painting up 1,000 points worth of Terminators. You won't want to miss that one. Let's begin. So here we have the Techmarine model. Unfortunately, it was slightly damaged in transit with one of the robot arms breaking off. Using some super glue and holding it together for a few minutes, it was properly bonded and the model is ready to be primed. Spray primer is best used in good conditions, and unfortunately the weather has both been cold and windy with sporadic showers. After waiting a few days, the conditions were ideal and we could prime this guy using Vallejo black spray primer in the workshop. After giving the spray can a good shake, we hold the model about 30 centimeters away and use some short, sharp sprays to build primer up. We really don't want any of the spray to build and obscure any of the great details on the model, so we make sure to go slow. Now that's done, we are ready to begin. Cutting out some paper towel and some baking paper, we add some water and make our own wet palette inside a flat McDonald's tin. Wet palettes are super cheap and easy to make, and you always hear about them because they always make life better when it comes to painting models. So you should probably definitely have one. So first things first, using Corax White, let's get a nice dry brush going over the entire model. I wicked up a lot of the white paint off the brush and went ham over the entire model to really give it a nice layer of white while retaining black paint in the edges. If you usually paint a non-red army like me, Techmarines are a great excuse to bust out the red paints. They also have small distinct iconography to show which chapter they're in. So using Citadel Wazdaka Red, we add it to our wet palette and thin the red down with some water. Next we start applying it to the Techmarine's armor and the large, thicker mechanical arm. Best part about this is you can paint an awesome red Space Marine and it doesn't have to be a Blood Angel. No offense, of course. Next, for some black paint, we're going to go ahead and block any of the undersuit between the armor panels. This is actually called the Black Carapace and is one of the gene seed organ implants on a Space Marine's body. The more you know, huh? We also want to paint the machine skull Techmarine symbols while we're at it. During this step, I actually realized that I had bought a painting handle the last time I went to the Warhammer store. Usually I just grip around the rim of the base, but I must say this painting handle is quite nice. Not sponsored or anything like that, and I'm also not saying it's the best or anything like that, but I can certainly get used to this. This is luxury. And it can even fit a Star Wars Legion model. As mentioned before, the iconography to denote which chapter this guy is from is firmly planted on his left shoulder pad and his right knee. So using Macragge Blue, we block these in to be adorned with a nice decal later on. This guy has a few pockets and a pistol holder for his grav pistol. We paint these in with two nice coats of Blood Reaver Flesh Brown. Using some Nuln Oil now, we try and pin shade a lot of the recesses all over the model's armor. The black spray primer has done a lot of work for us, but there's still a few parts of the model that could use some nicer shadows, especially on the backpack. We don't dunk the whole model in Nuln Oil, as we're just trying to maintain the same nice shade of colours that we've achieved so far. Here's a tricky part. Let's colour in the eyes with Moot Green. This is a lovely bright lime colour made by Citadel that always seems to have great coverage. As the whole model is red, we paint the eyes green to help them pop out a little bit more. And yes, I mucked this up, and I had to fix it up with some extra Wazdaka Red here and there. It's okay to make mistakes. The main part is that we're getting some paint on our models. Next, using Corax White, we colour half the Techmarine symbol on either side as shown on all the iconography. Now as we're painting this up, this model has a pretty cool history. I actually got this model secondhand from a great friend of mine that sold me a bunch of his Warhammer models and shipped them interstate. I won't mention his name out of privacy, but if you are watching this, you know who you are. Your models have gone to a good home, and I hope you like how they end up. If you had bought yourself a Techmarine, you probably would only need about 4 colours. Black and white, a nice red, and the next colour we're using, Citadel's Lead Belcher. I love this paint. It's a great metallic that has amazing coverage, which is lucky, as we're going to be painting a ton of the model with it. Pipes, wires, mechanical arms, the forge bolter, the top half of the omniscient power axe, and the pistol. Everything gets a good once over, and this really helps bring the model to life. Before, he was a simple plastic model, and now he's a Techmarine. Using some bronze paint now for a few bits and bobs, we paint Balthasar gold on the skull of his helmet, and also on a few details on his axe. Something awesome that happened after this step was that I dropped the model off the desk and completely snapped his axe in half. It snapped from the top section of his hand and only took a few minutes to glue back on with super glue after some excessive swearing. Thank goodness for super glue, honestly. Using Nuln Oil straight from the bottle now, we wash every single metallic area on the model, making sure to get into every single ridge to bump the details up to the next level. This model is honestly turning out great. I had never painted a Techmarine before, or so I thought. Next step was using a great light metallic paint called Runefang Steel. We use this paint to block in areas on the pauldrons and the axe, as well as a highlight for some of the lead belcher areas and any and all rivets around the entire model. These little areas of interest actually bring up the quality of the model so quick, so if you are painting up one of these guys, I wouldn't skip this. Definitely take your time. Model is almost done now. Let's apply the decals. Scouring all the decal sheets I've accumulated, I needed a small ultra symbol for the knee and a larger glorious one for the shoulder. Once found, I added some fix to the areas, wet the paper to lift the decals, and slid them on to the best of my ability. I'm still not great at applying decals, especially to shoulder pads, as the curvature makes it hard to make it airtight. I'm going to definitely need some more practice on those. I still haven't figured out what color I want my Ultramarine's bases to be, so I added some Astro Granite to begin with. While I waited for that to dry, I realized that I actually had painted a Techmarine before. A few years ago, I had bought a second-hand Firestrike Servo-Turret for about $20, I think, and I hadn't really poured my soul into the paint job of it. It was built already when I had bought it, so I kinda just gave it a few coats after I primed it. Nothing crazy. So I thought, you know what? What the hell? Let's paint this guy up too, so both my Techmarines are up to snuff. Especially since I had already kind of made a tutorial, or recipe if you like, for myself by painting this new techie. So off I went. Let's do a little lightning round. Wazdacker red on the armor. The whole model had already been painted, so this touch-up only took about 40 minutes to do completely. Lead Belcher on all the mechanical bits. I had left pieces all over the model in black, and honestly, I hated that the model still had that unfinished look. All these areas were painted up. Nuln Oil over all the mechanical parts. Runefang Steel for highlights and the pauldrons, along with a little bit of black and white for the Techmarine symbol. And lastly, some decals. I placed an Ultramarine Omega symbol on the Techmarine and the turret, and also some scripture and a fire support symbol. I think these guys are fire support, right? Regardless, I think this guy looks so much better. I'd happily show him off on the shelf now instead of having him sit at the back at my army in the dark. Back to the main model now. I used 3 layers of Screaming Skull on the base and another round of Astro Granite. Using some leftover Balthasar gold, I also painted the shell keys on the ground and the bullets that were visible in the forge bolter. The last step now, edge highlighting and cleaning up any messy areas that had excess paint on them. I used Evil Sun's Scarlet for the highlighting and even did a bit of edge highlighting on the Servo-Strike turret as well. Like decals, edge highlighting adds a lot more depth and detail in your models, but you really need to practice. Now, without further ado, I would like to present to you the Techmarine. All painted up to the tabletop. It's currently sitting at 55 points. And of course, the Firestrike Servo-Turrets. Successfully repainted. Currently at 75 points. I don't know about you guys, but I've had my fill of Techmarines. This was a really fun hobby project to tackle, while I also paint up those glorious 30 Terminators. If you liked the video, please give it a like. I'm not the biggest channel, and any engagement helps the videos get pushed to more like-minded hobby enthusiasts. And if you want to see more hobby-related videos, keep it locked to the Cal Paints channel. Thanks for getting this far, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later.